U.S. President Joe Biden met with the leader of Japan in the city of Hiroshima. It's here the 3-day Group of 7 summit will start on Friday, and it's perhaps a fitting location for the Great Power Conference. Here, in the first city ever hit with an atomic weapon, G7 members, which include host Japan, along with the U.S., Germany, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, and Canada, are increasingly concerned by what they see as Russia's repeated threats over the use of nuclear arms. They're also alarmed by an ascendant China, with economically coercive policies and its rapid accumulation of sensitive technology. Biden and Japan's Fumio Kishida met for talks Thursday, aiming for closer cooperation in the face of these challenges.
As you said back in January when you were at the White House, I think the quote is, we face one of the most complex environments in recent history, security environments. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm proud that the United States and Japan are facing it together. And, we stand up for shared values, including supporting brave people in Ukraine as they defend their sovereign territory, and holding Russia accountable for its brutal aggression.
Japan, although a longtime buyer of Russian oil, has moved in tandem with G7 sanctions against Moscow following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That military action has also raised fears among Japanese that China could be emboldened to take action against neighboring, self-ruled Taiwan, unless Russia is stopped. The U.S. will have a package of sanctions associated with a G7 statement that will center on the tightening and enforcement of Russian sanctions, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters on board Air Force One. As for China, which is currently hosting a summit of Central Asian leaders, officials from G7 member countries have said in private that tackling the country's rise isn't an easy task, particularly given the West's immense reliance on China as both a trade partner and, in some cases, a manufacturing base.
Frustration is beginning to mount for Democrats in the U.S. Congress over fears President Joe Biden might agree to Republican demands that could limit access to food aid for struggling Americans. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries on Thursday made plain his opposition to such measures.
We've continued to make clear as House Democrats that so-called extreme work requirements that these MAGA Republicans want to try to impose as a ransom note are a non-starter. Period. Full stop.
Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is demanding government spending cuts in exchange for raising the government's borrowing limit, also known as the debt ceiling. Without a measure permitting the U.S. to raise more revenue, the U.S. Treasury has said the government could run out of funds by the end of the month and fail to pay interest on its debt. Republicans have called for saving $120 billion by expanding work requirements to qualify for food aid, monetary help for poor families, and other assistance. But Biden on Wednesday reiterated his opposition to imposing new requirements for the Medicaid program for low-income Americans.
I'm not going to accept any work requirements that's going to impact on medical health needs of people. I'm not going to accept any work requirements that go much beyond what is already.
Liberal Democrats, including Senator Raphael Warnock and Representative Ro Khanna, also put Biden on notice that they do not support more stringent requirements to the existing law. Biden and McCarthy have said they are optimistic they can reach a deal, but Democrats in the president's own party have begun to worry about potential cuts to what they see as crucial benefits programs. One such compromise might be new requirements to show employment in order to receive what are commonly called food stamps or SNAP benefits. Jeffries said Republicans had in the past opposed such work requirements and should abandon them now.
2018, 145 House Republicans voted against so-called work requirements in an amendment to the Farm Bill that would have imposed such requirements on SNAP recipients. 145 Republicans, including the current Speaker of the House.
The USDA estimates an additional 1 million low-income older adults would be subject to SNAP time limits, and as a result, could lose vital food benefits if expanded work requirements were implemented. While some Democrats might balk at the concessions, some Republicans might refuse the compromise. It's unclear whether McCarthy can deliver enough votes to raise the debt ceiling from hardline members of his own caucus. Disney is scrapping plans to relocate 2,000 jobs to Florida, citing, quote, changing business conditions in the state, according to an email to employees seen by Reuters on Thursday. The announcement came amid a widening legal battle between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the entertainment giant. Disney Parks chief Josh D'Amaro said leadership changes and changing business conditions prompted Disney to reconsider its 2021 plan to relocate employees to a new campus in Lake Nona. He added, quote, given the considerable changes that have occurred since the announcement of this project, including new leadership and changing business conditions, we have decided not to move forward with construction of the campus. According to the Orlando Sentinel, Disney was expected to spend as much as $864 million on the project. Just a week ago, Disney CEO Bob Iger publicly questioned Florida's interest in the company's continued investment.
No corporation is above the law and the people of this state.
Disney and DeSantis have been locked in an increasingly acrimonious battle that started in March 2022, when Disney's then CEO Bob Chapek criticized legislation in Florida that would limit the discussion of gender identity and sexuality in elementary schools. DeSantis, who is expected to soon announce that he will seek the 2024 Republican nomination for U.S. president, then moved to strip Disney of its long-standing self-governing power over Walt Disney World in Florida. The governor argued that woke Disney should not receive special treatment in the state. Disney called the move political retaliation over what should be protected free speech, and sued the state last month to have the moves reversed.
The Ukrainian military on Thursday released footage purporting to show its forces attacking and destroying Russian units near the eastern city of Bakhmut. Reuters has been unable to confirm the location or the date of the video, which was posted to social media by Ukraine's top commander. Both Kyiv and a Russian mercenary group reported further Russian retreats around the city. Kyiv says it has launched local advances as a prelude to an upcoming big counteroffensive that it hopes will turn the tide against Russia's 15-month-old invasion. Ukraine's military said troops had advanced in places by more than a mile, and Ukraine's deputy defense minister said that day-long Russian attacks in the city had been repelled. However, the commander of the Wagner paramilitary group leading the Russian assault on Bakhmut claimed his forces were still advancing on Thursday. But Yevgeny Prigozhin accused commanders of Russia's regular forces of abandoning ground north and south of the city, raising the risk of troops inside being encircled. Near the front line, Ukrainian troops said Russia was bombarding access roads to slow the advances, which has shifted the momentum after months of slow Russian gains. Andrei Korny commands an air defense division near the front line.
The shelling is ongoing. You can see for yourself that it seems to have calmed down a bit. But they are constantly working like this, constantly looking for something somewhere. They are covering us with fire. Well, they work. It's obvious they're digging in, and they want to show us how strong they are.
The Russian Defense Ministry has acknowledged some withdrawals from positions near Bakhmut over the past week, but denied Prigozhin's assertions that flanks are crumbling.
Floods that killed several people in Italy's northern Emilia-Romagna region have caused billions of euros worth of damage, the regional governor said on Thursday. Torrential rains this week devastated the east of the region, causing more than 20 rivers to overflow. There have been hundreds of landslides, and roads have been damaged and destroyed. Stefano Bonaccini, president of the Emilia-Romagna region, said, "The scale of the devastation caused by the bad weather is like another earthquake. Agriculture has been hit hard, with more than 5,000 farms left underwater. Some 10,000 people have been forced out of their homes, and many of those who remained were left with no electricity. One of the dead was swept away from her home and washed up on a beach some 12 miles away." In the town of Cesena, locals were able to access their mud-wrecked homes as the rain stopped and floodwaters largely receded. Husband and wife Maurizio Cola and Raffaella Zani returned to find their wedding photos ruined.
My whole married life is in there.
We had to throw everything away. Nothing was saved. The water reached up to here, and you can see the level on the wall.
It was the second time this month that Emilia-Romagna has been battered by bad weather. Heavy rains followed months of drought, which had dried out the land. Meteorologists said this reduced the capacity to absorb water. Environmental group the WWF have blamed the loss of water-absorbing forests and vegetation along the riverways for amplifying the disaster. Italy's agriculture minister has said the government would not turn local industry, quote, into a desert by imposing tough CO2 reduction curbs, while big polluting nations elsewhere were not doing the same. But he acknowledged that the drought was caused by climate change and said the country had to adapt.